Hello everyone, I'm Harry Gollop from Cognify and organiser of the London Analytics Engineering Meetup. The Meetup is a place where some of the top UK data professionals come to listen to industry speakers, share ideas, swap insights, and really come to grow their own networks with some of the best folks in the London data scene. The meetups we run come every 6 to 8 weeks. If you're interested in coming to see more, then sign up in the link in the comments. We'd love to welcome you there in person. In today's video, we've got the first meetup of 2025, hosted at Deliveroo, with talks from Nik, the head of data engineering at the Co-op, talking about neurodiversity, specifically within data teams and how to manage that. We'll also have Borja from Spotify speaking about Iceberg and whether it's really worth all of the hype. If you enjoy this talk, then please check out the Stacked Data podcast. It's a place where I interview industry leaders and some of the biggest challenges they're having and they're seeing in the space, to help really share insights with the wider community. And of course, please like, subscribe and follow the page to keep up to date with any new meetups or more content that we're putting out on any of the platforms. Hope you enjoy the conversations.
Hi everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Engineering Meetup. I'm Adam Darthy. I'm covering for Dylan Baker while he's on paternity leave, even though this is an official position, but he's there taking care of his baby. We've got a really great talk today. We've got two great speakers from Spotify and from Co-op. Firstly, I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. This is the third year of the Analytics Engineering Meetup, and I think that hopefully you're going to have lots of interesting things that you can hear today. This is the provisional agenda, but we're starting a little bit late. But you can probably see we've got the first talk from Nik Walker, and then we've also got a talk from Borja, who's going to be talking about different topics. And then we've also got some drinks afterwards, which is hosted by Omni. There's lots of different events coming up in the future for this year, so keep posted with the team from Cognify and they can give you updates. I'm going to pass it over to Limo, who's our kind host from Deliveroo. So Limo, take it away.
Hello. I'm Limo, and I am lucky enough to be the AE lead at Deliveroo and working with a bunch of amazing analytics engineers, and also to welcome you all to Deliveroo for the event today. This is the 16th AE meetup, I believe, so that's a good number. We've actually hosted one here before. Actually, before I say that, hopefully everyone's managed to get some food and some drinks and feeling refreshed and full. We actually hosted one quite near the beginning of the series. I think it was the second one I was looking on the website back in 2022. I don't know if anyone here was there at the time. Maybe a show of hands. Yeah, one or two. Good. So welcome back to those folks. It's great to have you back. I was thinking a little about what's changed in that time. At the time that we did that one, the AE team here at Deliveroo, I wasn't involved at the time, was about 20 or so in size, and we've now grown to about 60 odd engineers based in the UK and also in India. So huge growth, and it's a kind of massive part of what we do as a company. The other thing, I guess, I'm sure everyone knows who we are as Deliveroo, but I guess a bit of a sales reminder of what our mission is and what we do. Thinking about what was then available at the time, we were very much focused on restaurants, just getting into kind of the grocery and delivery, and now much more building on that, the retail offering and so on and so forth. So yeah, maybe with Valentine's Day tomorrow, you're looking for something that you haven't quite got yet, check out the app. You might find something that's you want to have a look at. I'm looking forward to all the talks, hearing from everyone shortly. If you want to know more about what we do at Deliveroo, there's a number of our team here today. Maybe a wave, the AE folks. So feel free to chat to people and we mingle afterwards, find out more what we do as a company or as AE. And I'll hand over to the first speaker.
All right, I'll do a quick intro. This is Nik Walker, who's the head of data engineering at the Co-op, and he's going to be speaking to us about neurodiversity. Nick?
I got this.
Oh, thank you.
Aha. Hello. This is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. I'm quietly shitting myself. So, thank you very much for the intro. I'm Nik Walker. Thank you for the don't swear sign, Alex. Wonderful. I have an adoring crowd, clearly. One of the nice things about being a Deliveroo is that Co-op actually use it an awful lot. We're making an inordinate amount of money through you lot, so thanks. My bonus is great this year. Yeah, so I'm head of data engineering at Co-op. I've been there for 18 months or so, and I'm going to try and make this work. Nope, clearly not. Not very good at this. Good with technology. Done. So, a little bit about me. Before I even kick off anything, I'm going to talk about neurodiversity. I'm going to talk about data cultures because I think it's really important. Who's a leader in here beforehand? Few of you. Who wants to be a leader in the future? Just you. Just you. Awesome. Well, this is just for you. All of you can leave. Cool. It's a bit about me. Obviously, I've got much tweed jackets and various goodness. I've been working in tech and data for like 15 years or so. I'm a human-centric leader, so there's a couple of people in here who've worked for me before. I give a shit about people more than I do about technology and data sometimes. I don't think that's a bad thing. I affectionately refer to myself as Captain ADHD because that's what I have. Neurodiversity is quite a big thing for me. So I'm an old guarder. I'm one of these people who, unlike what feels like everybody else, but I love it, has been diagnosed in the past 5 years. I was diagnosed when I was like this high, and that did actually exist as I was that high at some point. Yeah, do advisory work for startups and scale-ups as well, talking to them about data platforms. So if you want to come shout at me about that afterwards, feel free. So who wants to guess what my ADHD scores are? It's not like discriminatory. I would genuinely make you answer awkward questions. Inattentiveness one? Oh, yeah, you saw it. Fuck. I forget things. It's almost like ADHD has got forgetfulness for short-term memory. Leave me alone. Stop picking on me. Especially you. So that's why I call myself Captain ADHD, because it's really crazy how high my scores are, and yet I am, for lack of a better phrase, functioning to a lot of people. Inattentiveness is silly things like having to pay attention to my notes because I forget everything, is like missing details, very easily distracted, short-term memory issues, getting bored easily. It's all these kind of things. Hyperactive, I will rock back and forth, wander around and never pay attention to a single one of you. Just generally being a bit of a space cadet about things. So that's what it looks like. Don't actually know. Oh, excellent, it's on those as well. So what does that mean for me as a person? It means life can be really, really fucking tough for me sometimes. Working as a head of, there's 1,000,000,001 different things you're trying to do, trying to prioritize and trying to figure out. Life gets difficult. Last year, I bought a house and nearly mentally blew up in London. It's crazy. But it was that head of, trying to recruit teams. That shit's hard anyway. Try and have an ADHD with it, and it adds up to craziness. But part of it is I handle it relatively well. I swear a lot, I get frustrated. I'm like any normal human being, and I can try and generally get through it. But a lot of people have experienced really, really crappy things throughout their lives. And one of the things about being a human-centric leader is that I try and focus on individuals and their story behind them, because it's stuff that I probably experienced as well. So a lot of people can relate to this, and I think I've shown this somewhere before. Can't remember, but these are just different things that have been said to either me or to people who've told me that they hear this. So stop being a space cadet. I've kind of embraced that. I am a bit of one. School teacher came around to me and said, I will only ever turn around to someone and say, do you want fries with that? Because I will never be successful. This is shit that we hear. You're not that bright, you need to focus. Everyone's a bit like that, so deal with it. These are really hard things. And like one of the big ones was explain to me why the hell I should care. An old director said that to me when I tried to explain that. That was really fun. That left me a bit battered and broken. And this is the kind of crap that people have heard. I'm 36 now, and I heard this when I was very, very young, and I've heard it throughout my career. It leaves shame. It brings up an imposter syndrome, which probably many of you have had. And it kind of leaves you a bit lacking in any kind of self-esteem. And these are the things that happen. So a bit about neurodiversity. Some of you will understand this. Some of you will probably have seen some of this, because I think it's important to have. And does this work? No, it does not. Okay, there's no laser. So neurodivergency is me, many of you. Lovely. ADHD, ASC, these kind of things. Neurotypical are also many of you. It is people who don't have any of these conditions. And neurodiverse people is all of us collectively. I think it's important. And also, it wouldn't really be a data meetup if I didn't have a full outer join sitting on a screen, would it? That makes you cry every time you try and make it work. So, excellent. I had to move these over from PowerPoint to Google, and I was desperately worried that this wouldn't work properly. So who knows what some of the conditions are for neurodivergence, other than ADHD? I've given you that one. Autism? Anxiety, mental health is up there in the DSM-5 is, yeah. Any others? Dyspraxic. I heard dyspraxic. Someone's... Is that what you're saying? OCI, OCD? Yep. So there's loads of good ones, and I keep bumping into people's Tourette's, dyslexia, ASC, which is autism spectrum condition. There's a whole plethora of developmental disabilities, oppositional defiance disorder, which I discovered was a thing last year and went, holy shit, that explains so much about my way towards things. You tell me the sky is blue and I have to go and check in case I say it's not. OCD, so people who've got obsessive compulsive, and the sensory disorders. I cannot remember where I stole this quote from. Gartner, Deloitte, someone who decided to write it very well, but I think it works really well to describe what these conditions actually are. I don't think anybody would disagree. It's all about the things that substantially affect how we work with the various systems that are around us. Good. So what do we think is the percentage of people in the general population who are neurodivergent? 20, as in 20%. Any other guesses? So it's 1 in 10. What about data and tech professionals? There's almost a stereotype here somewhere. There's 3 in 5 of you. 60%. Like, we got a fucking stereotype for a reason. Deep dark room, keep us away from people. Yeah, it's a stereotype. It's a shitty stereotype, and it's one I have argued with until I am blue in the face. It is funny, but it also sucks that many of us then end up in leadership roles where there's actually 4% representation. So you end up with lots and lots of neurotypical leaders telling you how to function, how to be, which fucking sucks. So a little bit for leaders and maybe people who are neurotypical. This is a bit more of an education piece, I guess. These are the kinds of things that you see from bringing neurodiversity. What we bring to the table. There we go. I'll use my words. So I've already said what a couple of mine are: difficulty prioritizing and planning. I will have a list like this, and some of you will relate to. I'm going to do this list, and I've said that at 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning, kind of thing. So definitely not happening. I will literally interpret requests from people, which is always really great fun when someone tries to use fuzzy language. Non-verbal cues. I've spent so much of my life trying to figure out how to fit in. Nice tweed and jeans and boots, and it works, and I appreciate it, but it took me so long to figure out how to do these kind of things. I've had sensory challenges. I'm glad that the lights aren't stupidly bright here, because otherwise it really hurts my eyes. And I can't focus on anything. Everyone's seen, and everyone's probably seen a bit of a stereotype of autistic people with noise-cancelling headphones in the office. These are all things that actually happen. But from that, on the other side of things, you get a nice, I'm trying to stay where the camera is as well, because I got told off for that. So what you end up with is really, really empathetic leaders. I've got some great people in my network and wider in my peer groups who are also neurodivergent, and they're stupidly empathetic because we've been through it. Lots of big thinking. Let's be fair, the stereotype does apply to both the negative laughter of, yeah, keep us in a deep, dark room, and also we come up with some crazy cool ideas for cool, good stuff. If you build a culture, if you build a good culture for people to succeed, neurodivergent people to succeed, you will happily have high retention. That's numbers. I know they're from a Deloitte thing from 2 years ago, so happily confirm those. If you build that culture, people will stick around because people don't want to go somewhere or take a risk to do like anything bad with this. That's not necessarily a weird thing or a bad thing, but people will stick around if you give a shit about them. Shock horror, right? Look, we're methodical and data informed. Most people are, because we've had to figure out how to work in the world. We've had to figure out how to function in a particularly weird way. We've had to figure out how to work with people, how to work with technology, and ultimately we end up, or we, the royal we, will hyper-focus on things until you understand just about everything about it. One of the frustrating things for me is you hear neurodivergency described as a superpower. For those of you who are neurodivergent, and if you're talking about it or not, it pisses me off to no end because there's a lot of people who aren't like me who can't look normal. There's lots of people who have things like Tourette's, where they have emotional tics or physical tics, and people with autism who have breakdowns over the most ridiculous of things, but it's bad to them. This is like really, really mad stuff. We call it a superpower, toxic positivity, and it's bullshit. It is hard work being neurodivergent. So, this is, I steal lots of things off the internet. Should probably start giving people credit for them. Not going to. Someone somewhere said, diversity is a constant, inclusion's the action. Not a clue. If someone wants to tell me who said that once, I will happily quote them for it. But I found this whilst Googling for it, and it works really nicely because you've got diversity is everywhere, and very stereotypically, you've got gay, you've got black, you've got various racial kind of things that have traditionally been associated with diversity, and neurodiversity is kind of becoming quite a big thing for that. Inclusion is the behavior that we're going to take towards these, making sure people are respected, which build equity into that. And that belonging, belonging happens in communities that allow for this diversity to exist in a way that is safe and free. If you don't have one of those three, it's the old project management, quick, fast, and easy, quick, fast, and cheap. Like, it's one of those, it's the same thing for us. So building those kind of things is really, really good. So small little changes that each of you can help with. And these sound really daft when I'm saying them. And you look at them and you go, everybody does this, but they really don't. My boss doesn't do it, and it drives me mad. I shout at him every time. Putting agendas in meetings, long freaking meetings. Tell me what we're talking about. Don't waste my time making me think about 77 things with a crap title. Fuzzy phrasing, making sure that we're being specific with how we're saying things. One of my old lead engineers at an old place used to be like very pedantic about this. Actually, I love him for it, because it's helped me with it. Making sure we know there's no assumptions with how we work. No one likes an assumption when they work, but apparently we have to be quite specific about these things. So if you're assuming that I'm going to do something, be specific. Ask, is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Different avenues of feedback. This one's not just neurodiverse people. This is neurodivergent people. This one is for every single person. Not everybody wants to shout up in a room the size when I sit there and ask you questions. Some people have been raised in cultures that might be a little bit different and don't allow you to do that. If you are from India and you're female, for example, some women have a real problem and a real hang-up of being able to speak freely to a white guy. It's a genuine problem. So you had multiple areas of feedback for people. That's not me accusing anyone, I promise. There's different ways of assimilating the same information, like e-learning. E-learning sucks. Yes? Wonderful. E-learning sucks. Don't just give me a video that I have to sit there and attempt to focus on. Give me the PowerPoint, give me the slides, give me the words behind it so I can assimilate it in my own time. No hello on Teams. Fuck me, is it annoying when someone just sends you, hello. 15 minutes later, are you there? No, fuck off. It is so infuriating. It's infuriating for someone who's neurotypical. It's infuriating for neurodivergency because shit, what have I done? What's going on? Or you respond, hello, hi, and they come back 20 minutes later. Can you join this meeting? Fuck, like what's going on? What's happening? That instant rejection, that panic, that anxiety that comes skyrocketing up, that diffuses everything, just gets everything else out of the way. You end up in a position where you can't focus on anything but that one message. It's not just me. I know people who've done it, and I ignore people who do it, but it's a whole, I've done nothing. Like, break shit, I'm not like that. But that is a big one. It wouldn't be my kind of presentation without weird memes. So some of you are leaders, some of you are aspiring leaders. These are some of the things I can ask you to do, tell you to do, shout at you, talk at you for a little while. Servant leadership. I'm a cultist for Agile. I'm sorry, I do like talking about story points. Servant leadership is about stepping into a position where you're not necessarily the one always doing the graft. It is very much, you exist to serve your people. That's it. Whatever their needs are, each one of them has individual needs. You cannot compartmentalize, you cannot assume that they all need the same thing. It works. Making sure that each of your people, maybe when they are onboarded, maybe when you start with the new team, do they have everything? Do they have the technology they need? Do they have the physical changes that they need? For those poor bastards of you that have to go into the office multiple times, do they have the office space that they need? The lights, the sound, are they by a draft? Are they all this stuff that we just kind of go, that's not a big deal. It is to them. Make sure you check in with them. Digital communication. I work weird hours. I'm up at ungodly time in the morning and log on early in the morning. I also turn into a pumpkin after 4 o'clock. So I need time, and I need to let people know that I won't be around after 4 o'clock most of the time because I'm useless. Don't know why. Speaking plainly, this is what I've had to work out how to do. I swear I rant or rave, but it's plain, straight to the point. Office space understandings, whatever, and encouraging those communities that do exist. In Co-op, I belong to a community called Represent, which is awesome. It's a big group of people who are physically disabled, neurodivergent, whatever it happens to be, and we get together, we shit talk about certain things, we challenge big things. If there's software or processes that are in place that are discriminatory or problematic in any way, my God, you better believe we complain about it, it's great, but we actually get things done as well. And quite proud of some of the big work we've done managing to get rid of psychometric testing, for example. Best thing in the world, getting rid of that piece of shit. But it is generally something that should do. If you're a leader or stepping up into leadership, you promote this. You ensure that your guys and gals and anyone who identifies otherwise as they have the time to attend these places because they want to feel a piece of it. Remember what I said about higher retention. You give people these spaces, they will definitely be there. Yeah, I can't be bothered to read that. So these are always some goodies that I get asked randomly, like, how do I support someone who's told me they're being neurodiverse? Just avoid the assumptions. Avoid the assumptions that just because I've got ADHD, or I do this, I've done this and upset someone, I've assumed because I've got ADHD, theirs will be the same. It is not. We are all very unique. We are all very individual. I know that sounds very flaky and wokey and all that nonsense that people whinge about in the Daily Mail, but it's actually true because everybody's an individual with this and they have that kind of attitude towards it. Making sure there's an understanding around etiquette, making sure we've got what are the expectations for the workplace. Again, it's an assumption that people just, how many people go to work in the city and put on the blue suit, but never think to have an individual personality behind that? Like, it sounds ridiculous, but these are expectations that people pick up on. Someone who's neurodivergent won't. Making sure we know how to handle tasks that are given to us. Don't need to say much more than that, but making sure that we actually know, don't just sit there and go, I need this thing done. What thing? If I don't know much about it, you're gonna have to talk to me about it. Appreciate it. We need routine, structure, and consistency. I genuinely switch my laptop off at 4 p.m. And it scares the crap out of people most of the time. But oh, what if I need you? It's not an emergency service. Please get a grip. But like, also, that routine is necessary for me to be able to decompress and to have a healthy work-life balance so my brain doesn't burn out. The past few years, COVID has been really tough for me because everything went wrong. It's been tough for everyone, but for my ass with ADHD, holy crap, it was bad. Inclusive language. I have sat in a boardroom and heard someone described as a fucking retard. I have never been so close to violently destroying a table to get to someone before. I have never quite seen anything as bad as that, but I've also heard things like, oh, don't worry about him. He's just a bit on the spectrum. That's fucking great. But these are the kind of behaviors you don't use that language. Obviously not. If you hear it and you're safe to do so, you do something about it. You stick up for your people. Like, I've heard that and I've very, very quickly lost my temper about it. Unless, that's a bad thing. Flexible workspaces, those of us who are still on flexible working, huzzah, and can actually do certain things and make sure your physical workspace and like everything digital can be flexible, grand. Make sure you're encouraging that as a leader. Again, we're not all single people. We're not all the same kind of people. We're all singular people. How do you approach someone who you think is neurodivergent? How do you? Anyone want to dare to answer? If they're neurodivergent, if you think that if they've got weird behaviors, how would you say it? I'm going to put you on the spot. I've done this to you multiple times when I'm talking. I'm going to stop. Everyone else can answer. Oh, yes. Okay. Fucking pedants. You're a pedant. I love it. Don't, please, for the love of fuck, don't approach people about it. Like, hey, are you autistic? Yeah, thanks, dude. Yeah, like, I'm not. I've got weird traits of it, or some traits of it. Are you autistic? Like, it comes with so much emotional baggage for a neurodivergent person. It comes with so much emotional baggage when someone overhears it because you think, oh, autistic's one of those people. You will have these hidden levels of knowledge in your brain, I can't remember what they're called, unconscious biases, that you will have that and you won't notice it straight away until you really analyze what that is. Don't approach people about it. We will come to you. If you are a good enough leader, if you're a good enough colleague, good enough worker next to us, we will talk to you about it. I will happily wave a flag in your face and go, look what I've got, but that's me. Not everybody's like that. Can I thrive in a senior leadership position? I didn't have any role models doing the whole leader and data-y thing, and I started doing this about 4 or 5 years ago now. Yes, you can. I am a senior leader in data and technology. You can succeed as a neurodivergent person. So I hope in some way, shape, or form I'm slightly inspirational. And because it's memes and it would not be me, I sat there for ages trying to figure out how I feel about certain things and spoke to the Represent group about what you would like for this. It's just memes that tell you exactly what our lives are like. Specifically this one, Homer, for various reasons, because The Simpsons is amazing, up to season 12. But like, people will sit there, it's a very specific opinion, but like, can you repeat all the part about the stuff where you said all the things? Is definitely something I've tried to say to someone once when, because it goes in one ear and out the other, I'm like, I'm doing a great job listening to this person, it's a really good one. Shit, I'm not listening. Genuinely a problem. But it works. So this is a little bit of a thank you. So thank you for listening to my weird waffling, non-technical at a technical thing chat. You've seen the kinds of stuff that neurodivergent people put up with. Some of you have probably put up with some of this crap, and I'm sorry that you have, but I'm glad that we're slowly getting to a point where people like myself can stand very loudly and proudly and talk to you about it. You've seen our struggles, you've seen our challenges, you've seen our strengths, and you've also seen our memes, which are always really, really good. And that's probably going to be a good thing to me say, thank you very much, because I can't figure out anything else to say. So, an awkward ending with Captain Holt. If you do want to natter to me on LinkedIn about anything like this, source leadership or data platforms or anything else, feel free to scan this QR code. Don't come screaming up to me like people at Data Engineers London did and scare the crap out of me with their phones. It was weird. Use that QR code, scan it now, or I can show you my phone later if you wish to. I assume you would like to do Q&A.
Yeah.
But you're menacingly just like brandishing a microphone at people.
Great. Thank you, Nik. We're going to go around, and if people have questions that you'd like to ask Nik, we're going to go around with a mic, so Harry will bring it round. We also have some free merch from a company called Deep Note. So anyone who asks a question, can be any question, we're going to give you some free merch so as an added incentive. So yeah, hold your hands up, and Nik, feel free to select whoever you'd like. Hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome back.
Hello, 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 hello.
Thank you. All right. So the second and final talk for today, we've got Borja, who's the senior data engineer at Spotify, and he's going to be talking to us about Apache Iceberg. So Borja, over to you.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm Borja, data engineer at Spotify, data engineer at home for the last year. Difficult. But yeah, she's sleeping through the night, so I have a lot of energy for this talk. But yeah, I've been in data for the last 10, 12 years, something like that. I've been at Monzo, JP Morgan, Inditex, all over the place, but always with data. And maybe I should stop because data, too much data. But I'm not the interesting topic here. Let's talk about the things we like, and it's basically hypes. Data and the data community, we love hypes, and we love every single day and every single week focusing on different things. Something is happening, we need it, we need to implement it in our data stack, we need to try it, we need to default the next week, rinse and repeat, and try to get the data ecosystem going. And that's probably one of the questions, like, why is data never mature enough? Well, because we just constantly keep changing and trying new things, which is amazing. And that's why I'm doing this talk, because I'm that dog constantly trying to do new things. Data management is not that happy though, but yeah. But yeah, let's talk about Iceberg, which is probably something that has been around or in LinkedIn for the last year a lot, but it has been around and with us for 5 years. I think it started on Netflix in 2017, but since then it started to gain popularity. So what is Iceberg? It's a table format. If you know Delta and Databricks, it's the same. If you know Hoodie from Uber, it's the same. It's all about table format, but that's the key question. It's completely different to a file format. I've read some posts saying like, oh, Iceberg is faster than Parquet. I don't know how, but maybe you did something incredible. Table formats are basically sitting on top of file formats. A table format has been around forever. We started calling the table formats with Hadoop, I think, but they are in every single database. Like, that's how you structure the definition of a table, how many columns it has, how partition is this table, how the data types of the columns, everything is defined in the table format. And then you have the file format. So the table format is going to say, okay, I have these columns, these tables, they are in these files that are in this folder. So keep always in mind that table format sits on top. And we've been having table formats for a long time, and I actually have to travel back in time to explain to you Iceberg, and I have to go to the time of Hadoop. Specifically, I have to go time to Hive. And my gosh, I feel really old talking about Hive. And that was the boom of the whole big data, and thanks to that, we are here, we have a job, because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, people started to say that big data is the future, we need Hadoop, we need Hive. We are basically having the same conversation. We need this hype now. We need all the data platform to change. We need to move all our data to Hadoop, because that's the future. It's just an Excel. You don't need Hadoop, but of course. So we have to talk about Hive, but not Hive as a query engine, but Hive as the metastore, which are two completely different things. You have Hive to query things, and you have Hive metastore that is a table format. That's the original table format in big data in Hadoop. It's just you have a metastore, you have a pointer of a table telling you that this table has all this data in these folders. So that's how a table format works. And that was the original table format that we loved and we are still using, and people are still using because it's really good. You have, well, back then we had Hive, we have Impala, we had Pig, we have all these new engines that could query any single table wherever the source, because they have the Hive metastore. You go to the Hive metastore tells you this data is here, query it. You don't need anything else. Sorry about that. But Hive has, sorry, I'm going to use a lot of memes, so you pay attention to the memes and don't trust what I say. So Hive had a lot of problems, and it still has a lot of problems. And when you scale with it, it's not that performant. It was great, but unfortunately, it never lived to its expectations. Partitioning, changing a partition on a Hive table was basically impossible. You have to reprocess all the data because you have to change all the folders. You have to run everything. So tell your manager, I need 2 weeks to backfill this data because someone is now querying by hour instead of day. In evolution, the same. I think in Hive, you always had to add columns at the end of the table. If you delete a column in the middle, you have to reprocess everything. I think they changed it then with Hive 3, but crazy. Folder scanning was also one of the problems. You have a lot of partitions, a lot of folders, a lot of files. It never scales. So what happened? It was Netflix in 2017, Ryan Blue, within Netflix, got the concept of Iceberg. And basically, you have on the left side how Hive table format works, and Iceberg on the right side how it works. And Iceberg and Hive is all about metadata files, explaining how the data is structured and explaining how things are defined. So you have in Hive everything was in the catalog, in tables, and it was tightly coupled to the way you have the data structure in folders. So if you change a folder, you're screwed. You need to create something from scratch. But Iceberg, instead of following the idea of Hive, decided to start something from scratch, and they have layers of metadata. So basically, they still have this catalog. Then they have a first layer that is like the metadata, where they define like the table schema, table properties, basic properties of the table, and snapshots. Like I'm explaining you in a bit. You can have different snapshots, and that manifest is going to tell you how it works. Manifest list, then it explains like information about the partitions, so you can actually know in the manifest list how many partitions, which partitions you have to access to, and etc. And the file list, and then you have the last manifest. There are a lot of manifests. I explain later with an example how it works. And the last manifest is going to tell you like partition specification, the columns, upper bounds, lower bounds, which columns are in that partition, etc., etc., etc. And then you have files. It doesn't matter the structure of the files, where those files are located. You don't care. You just want to know exactly that file is there, and that's it. So let me give you an example and work through an example. You create a table, the Iceberg catalog, you go to the catalog, and what it's going to do first is going to create this first metadata file. It doesn't have anything else. It's just an empty file with the schema, with some information, but there are no files. There is nothing. It's just F0 is the first snapshot that you have available. Then let's say that we insert some data. So we are working from bottom to top. First, we create the files, because that's what usually happens in any engine. You create this folder because it's partitioned by hour, but it doesn't matter the structure of the folder. Then you create the first manifest file. There's the yellow one that is going to say, okay, these files have 7 columns. The first column is an integer with upper bound 0, how many nulls, all the information, and etc. The third one is the partition information. So it's going to tell you like, okay, I know that this timestamp, because it is structured as timestamp, that timestamp is in this path with this folder, with these files. So I have that information. And it creates a new version of the metadata file. So now we have 2 metadata files, the original one that is empty, and a new one that is going to capture all the past plus the new information. So now, as you can see, we have in that second file, like a snapshot 0, which is empty, and a snapshot 1. So that's basically Iceberg. It's just a chain of files explaining different levels of how the data is structured and how the data is being stored. Imagine that we insert a new file. We have the data from the past, so we don't have to create new manifest files. Like now we start from the bottom, we have a new file with data, we have a new manifest pointing to that file, we have a new manifest file with the partitions, but it's smart enough to say, hey, I have information from the other one, so I'm going to reuse it, so I'm going to point to the previous data. So now I have these 2 connections that go, this is for the data that I inserted in the previous run, and this is from the new one. So now I have the latest version of the Iceberg table is saying that you have 3 snapshots. Snapshot 0 was empty, so you have time travel even. Snapshot 0 was empty, snapshot 1 had this data, snapshot 2 has this new data. And again, metadata is all a chain of files, so you are constantly creating these files. And how does it work for a select? Well, now we are top down. We go to the catalog and we say, give me this table. So the first thing that the catalog is going to tell you is, go to this manifest file. This is the last version of the manifest file that you have to query. And it's going to say, okay, go to the snapshot 2 because you want the latest snapshot. And now we are asking for data between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. So the manifest is going to say, okay, you need this path. So follow this path and go to the data file that is in this column, and go to the first manifest that we created. And then this manifest has information statistics about the column. So it's going to be smart enough to say, hey, you only need this file because that's the only one that has product ID 1006. So you only read Parquet HF 998. That's basically Iceberg. It's just files pointing to things. And the last thing is, if you do an update, imagine that you want to update some files. There are two methods that Iceberg offers: is copy and write. So when you, for example, you want to update swimsuit and set the price, imagine that it was in file A. What it's going to do is copy the whole file and create it again. Even if you are only changing one column, one row in that file, you're going to copy the whole file. It's not performant, it's copy and write. You are putting the pressure on the writer. But you can have merge and read. What it's going to do is, instead of copying the file, it's going to add a new pointer in the manifest file saying, like, I deleted this row from this file. So now you're putting pressure on the reader because it has to do like a join internally to say, okay, I'm reading this file. I have to take into account that this row is deleted. So that's basically the two modes that it has: copy and read, copy and write. And this opens possibilities, like now you can actually have partition tables that change over time. You have a table that was partitioned by month for a year, and so you want to partition by date or by day. You don't need to reprocess everything. You just create a new manifest file, you change it, and the Iceberg is going to be smart enough to say, okay, for this query planner that needs data before this date, you have to scan everything. For the new data, you only need to scan these particular files. And now, I told you all this, and if you're using BigQuery or Snowflake, it's like, why are you telling me all this? What do I need it? Like, BigQuery and Snowflake, they are doing all this. I don't need to know all this stuff. And if you are using Databricks, you already have Delta, so you don't care. You're like, why you are talking about Iceberg? And I could finish the presentation here, to be honest, like, you shouldn't care. But then why is everyone hyping about it? Why is absolutely every single, I mean, depending on which bubble of LinkedIn you are, you might get something else. But I'm getting a lot of Iceberg recently, and it's, why is everyone talking about this? And it goes to last year, 2024. 2017, Netflix created Iceberg. Ryan Blue moved to Tabular, a spin-off company that basically, even though Apache Iceberg is open source, they built a company on top, and they were like 60% of the committers were from Tabular. And last year, Databricks bought Iceberg for $2 billion. Why? They have Delta. Why are they buying Iceberg? What's the purpose? Snowflake also wanted to buy Iceberg, but they were late. I'm not sure. Politics, there are too many politics in the world. I'm not going to enter into this. But why are they putting so much money on something that, in theory, we shouldn't care? Well, and this is where things are starting to change a bit. When we moved from Hadoop and we realized that having Hadoop on-prem, it was too expensive, and we didn't want DBAs and we didn't want people managing racks of servers and things like that, and we moved to BigQuery, Snowflake, Redshift, and all the cloud providers, we sort of siloed ourselves with one cloud provider. Like, all the data and all the engines are in the same place. You go to Snowflake, you have the data in Snowflake. You go to BigQuery, you have the data in BigQuery. You go to Redshift, you have the data in Redshift, yeah. But you have it always there. If you want to query the data, you have to load it. If you want to, then the new hype, reverse ETL, if you want to extract the data, you have to extract it somehow. You never can like access the data in a different way. You always need that engine. And with Iceberg, we just changed that. We are talking now of the ability of being completely agnostic of where the data resides and where you run the queries. Like, you no longer need, and this is quite of strange because Snowflake, like, their actual selling point is like they split compute from storage, but the storage is still in Snowflake. So this is the actual truth. Like, Iceberg is now splitting both worlds. Now you don't need to run Snowflake or anything, just that data, you can run whatever you want against that data and it doesn't matter. And Ryan Blue, the original creator of Apache Iceberg, has this amazing talk in 2022 saying like, you don't need to care about Apache Iceberg. And that's true. We shouldn't care about the technology. Like we have Hoodie, we have Delta, and we have Iceberg, and probably there are more that I don't remember, but they are all sort of the same. They are taking, maybe one feature takes a month to appear, but they are, at the end of the day, they are the same. Delta is open source between quote, but you always need to Spark. Iceberg is open source. So everyone is just like, okay, now I can actually do it. So potentially, this is politics, what Databricks wanted is like, I'm going to stop Snowflake from buying it so they don't become a data lake cloud. But that's just me with the hat. Personal opinions, by the way, this is just me talking, nothing related to Spotify. Anyway, it's just me talking about this. Yeah, tinfoil hat off. So now we are actually getting into the hype. Now we can do things. And actually the call SDBT last year, yeah, 2024, Iceberg was everywhere out of the blue. They were talking about Iceberg like, is the new thing. And it's like, sorry, DBT, you were a transformation layer. Now you are a data lake management tool. I don't know what's going on, but this is what's going on. Imagine having DBT and you can just run queries and it doesn't matter where you have the data. You just run DBT target to Snowflake, read, write, it goes to Iceberg. My data is in S3, is in Google even. And then imagine that I want to run like slow queries that I don't need to go to Snowflake. I can just run DuckDB over them. So I just go to DuckDB, same data, and everything runs same. Because this Iceberg table format is going to abstract everything. You don't need to go to the Snowflake data warehouse and run Snowflake, Snowpipe, Struct, load, whatever. And it works, like, it's amazing. Like, you just run it, and suddenly I'm running create tables with a Snowflake, and suddenly I'm running tests with DuckDB. I'm not putting pressure on a Snowflake anymore to run tests. I'm saving money. Amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. Performance-wise, it's just insane. Like, suddenly I can actually run a Snowflake and Iceberg, and they actually give me the same times, sort of. What is going on? How Snowflake is now giving me this new feature, and they can actually be able to do it for a long time. It's incredible. It's running like really good. Let's change all our pipelines. Famous philosopher or rapper said, snap back to reality, oh, there goes gravity, blah, 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 blah. Hold your horses. Let's stop here. Let's just take a step back. Everything I told you in the last 20 minutes was amazing. It works really well. But the reality is that, that sample that I run is no longer possible to run. I was super excited, like, oh, I can run DuckDB over Snowflake tables that are stored somewhere else. Last year, by the end of the year, Snowflake said, Apache Iceberg, we no longer publish this version hint file. What the fuck is that? You never talk about the version hint, you talk about manifests. Okay, let's go back to my example. Iceberg catalog. What is that catalog? It's the oracle that knows where table resides. That's where the problems are starting to arise right now. Like, Iceberg is a specification that is amazing, but the catalog right now is all over the place. Snowflake right now has two definitions of catalogs. Has an external catalog that other engines can read and write, but the Snowflake can only read. And then there is an internal catalog that the Snowflake can read and write, but external engines can only read. I don't want to swear, but why? Why are you creating two things? Why are you suddenly, to create an Iceberg table, I have 5 different specifications? I thought that having an open table format is going to unify things, not create complete chaos to actually build new things. On top of that, they created Polaris, which is a catalog that they built internally, and they open source to solve all the problems. So now we have 3 catalogs that can connect with things. Which one should I use? BigQuery has 4 different ways of creating an iceberg table. What is going on? I thought that it was easy. So we're starting to get into this situation where Iceberg is, and I'm not a data advisor or financial advisor, I don't know, but Iceberg is really, really cool, and it's going to open a lot of things in the future. And it's going to give us that abstraction of like, I can run any engine that I want, etc., etc., etc. But things are messy. Things, especially with the catalogs, things are moving really quick. Things are changing really fast. So if you need it, experiment with it, try it, explore how it works, just get comfortable with it. But you probably don't need it at this point. Like if you are extracting a lot of data, if you're loading a lot of data, maybe you need it, but just take your time to explore it. Be careful with hives. We always love like hives and everything. And even if you are getting really good performance, there are a lot of tricks and bits that are not that fun. Because right now, yes, everything was in Snowflake, everything was in BigQuery, everything was really easy to handle. Now we are in a position where if I have my data somewhere else, I need to actually pay for the egress cost. I need to pay for the connection to the bucket and retrieving the data. Is my engine in the same zone as my data? Otherwise, I'm probably going to create a lot of load, of cost. There are a lot of optimizations under the hood. Like everything that was hidden for us in Snowflake or in BigQuery, you only care about is the left join, is the big table on the left or the big, small table on the right. Now you actually have to care about, is my data sorted by the right key with the right hash and with the right type format, and I'm compacting the files at the end of every run. There are things that we are inheriting from Hadoop times that Iceberg is going to solve, but we are not there. We are in the high phase. We are going to plateau. So take it easy. And yeah, that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Borja. Same deal as before. Harry's going to go around with the microphone, and there's merch for whoever asks questions. Borja, I'll let you select who you want to answer.
I'm hiding up.
Hi, thanks very much. Why use Snowflake at all? You seem to imply that it's not necessary.
It's not necessary. Because when Iceberg started to be this popular, Snowflake was I don't know how to speak, was one of the cloud providers that adapted it really quick. So I just wanted to try it. So yeah.
Oh, there's one behind you, Harry.
Hey, what happens to the old manifest files? Are Iceberg only looking for the newest one, or are they also looking for, so you showed the slide with like version 1, version 2, version 3. Is it ever going to use version 1, version 2? Yeah, so. Yeah, here.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, is it ever going to use V1, or is it always going to use V2? And then if something changes, then it's going to create V3, and it's still going to only V3 going forward?
That's a good question. So it's always going to use the latest one, but you can time travel with it. So if I want to time travel to the previous version, it's going to be smart enough to say I have to use the previous snapshot. So yeah, it traces back. And that opens an interesting question, because you are going to now you do a lot of inserts, you are going to end with a lot of manifest files. You have to have a tool that is going to delete those old files. So you have to have a system that is, how long do you want to keep a snapshot alive? For how long back do you want to go back? BigQuery is just like 7 days, 2 days, 3 days. You control that with that. But with this, you actually have to go to configurations, be smarter on that, and things like that. But yeah, thank you.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Are there any performance differences between Iceberg and Delta Lake, or is it just depending on the cloud provider which one you would use?
That's a really good question. Depends who you ask. They are saying that Iceberg is faster right now, but I actually never like comparing. There are no benchmarks right now. Like, so new and everything. Everyone is so hyping about it. Like, they know that Iceberg is fast, but I don't think there are actual benchmarks. I'm not going to tell you like this one is faster or not. But all I'm reading, and every moment I read more about both, they are so similar that they are going to perform the same. They are basically the same at the end of the day.
It feels like everyone's fighting over the catalog. Do you think in the future that the catalog will separate itself out and there'll be people who just provide the catalog and not the query engine and not the data layer as well? Or will the catalog always be bundled with one of the other two?
We are already in that situation. For example, there is Nessie. Nessie is just a catalog that you can use, but it's a company that you have to actually get Nessie into it. So yeah, right now the actual war is who is going to be the new providing the catalog for you that connects to everything. That's the tricky bit right now. Or you build it in-house, basically. Which so right now it's catalog. Like Polaris probably is going to be the winner, but time says, I don't know.
With Iceberg at Spotify, have you guys productionized any of it? Is it in production?
I can't tell you, sorry. I can't tell you.
Oh.
I'm not allowed to tell you, sorry.
All right, in that case, I'll switch to the question. From my understanding, Apache Polaris is federated. So would that not solve the issue? Because it can like within it, you can it can act as like it can act on top of like external catalogs. Would that not solve the issue, or is there something that I'm not considering?
No, that will solve it. That will solve it. But it's just they just shipped it so fast that it's only working right now for Spark. It's very Java based. Like it's still confusing in Snowflake because you need the extra catalog to actually use it. So it will solve it, but it's still so early that I'm actually not sure.
I think we're almost done. We're also merged out. Actually, there's one question I did want to ask you, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Double-barreled. One of them is, what types of companies or use cases do you think Apache Iceberg is meant for? And they're the companies or use cases you'd say you should be using this. The other thing is, you mentioned it's a bit of a mess now. When do you think it will be in a position where lots of people here should be adopting it?
Oh, God. I'm not a data advisor to tell you. So the first question, use cases. I think the biggest use case is if you are in a situation where you're constantly loading and extracting data, or you're using external tables in BigQuery or Snowflake. If you are constantly having to move data from GCS back to BigQuery, and then from BigQuery back to GCS, you're duplicating costs, you're slowing the delivery of the data because you are constantly moving back and forth. So if you want to abstract yourself from that, that's probably a really good way to do it. And then the second one was when it will get mature enough. I want to believe this year. Things are going really fast. Like we have, as I said before, everything is really Java-based, but there is Iceberg around that you can actually use Iceberg in Python to write and read files. I want to believe that DuckDB, they are going to improve their readers and everything, but I think 2025 and 2025 we will get a lot of good stuff. Fingers crossed.
Great, thank you, Borja. On a round of applause. Okay, thank you, everyone. Am I going back or am I going forward? Oh yeah, now I remember. Okay, there we go. All right, so some final little bit of admin, and then you guys can go and grab some drinks. So we've done the deep note. The next event is going to be on the 6th of March. It's the Allies of Women in Data and Analytics. We've got a panel of women data leaders. We'd love for all of you to attend, so watch out for that. That's at Liberis. Then in conjunction with that, we also have the Stacked Pathways mentoring program, which is to combat the drop-off of women leaving data roles. So there's both a QR code if you'd like to be a mentee and be mentored by other women in data, or alternatively, you could also scan the QR code on the right and become a mentor yourself. This is being managed by the Cognify team, so if you have any questions as well, you can go and ask Harry, Julian, Robbie, Jack as well, who's somewhere here. I can't see all the Cognify team. And then we are always open for feedback. So if the new format is working, please let us know. If it's not working, please let us know. Any suggestions would be great. Final thing, thank you to Deliveroo. A big thank you to Dylan for helping organize this. Maybe a quick round of applause, putting this together. Also, thank you to Omni and the Omni team, who should be around here somewhere. Omni have paid for drinks at the Banker pub. So there's actually some money behind the bar. So go and order some drinks there. They'll probably direct us to the pub afterwards. Final thing is Dylan would like us to get a group photo of everyone. So Dylan, maybe I could pass it over to you and you can direct us on what you'd like us to do. Oh, just take it like this. Okay, right. Easy. Great. Smiles. Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. See you at the Banker pub.